Hello, everyone. My name is Mark from the Misplay Podcast, and you're listening to Eternal Journey, everyone's favorite Eternal podcast.
Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast.
Greetings to all my Jedi Knights and Padawans out there. You listening/watching the Eternal Journey podcast where we talk about all things Eternal with a focus on limited play. I'm your host, Jedi, and this week is episode 56 of the podcast, where we are going to be interviewing limited and constructed all-star Calebovitsch. But first things first, I want to welcome on the show my two good friends and co-hosts, coming from sunny, thank goodness, and not blizzard-like Colorado. We have John Holio. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? Hey. Feeling great.
Sweet. Weather's still holding up.
Yeah, it's gonna be like in the 60s tomorrow, man. It's been beautiful this week.
Oh, nice, man. It's absolutely gorgeous out there.
Yeah, it's getting to be the best time of year to be here.
Sweet. Yeah, Texas is gonna be nice for about 2 weeks, and then it'll go to miserably hot.
Yeah, I've got months of beautiful weather to look forward to at this point.
Awesome. And coming from, I think, sunny California as well, we have Darth Herman too. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Going pretty well, I think. I think my normal drafts are going pretty well. My goblin drafts, yeah.
Those are some mean little buggers.
They are.
Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and mention that real quick. So, Installment has had all the top streamers in the limited format do a tournament with some draft stipulations. They call it Goblin Drafting, where we have the priority of picking shiny cards, then legendaries, then rares, and then if none of that's in the pack, then you can pick whatever you want. So, it's been interesting, to say the very least. We've had some serviceable decks and some complete disasters with a bunch of playables and 50 card monstrosities and all kinds of things. It's been an interesting challenge and fun for the viewers. At least, I don't know. What do you guys think? Has it been fun for you guys to watch it? Or are you guys like, all right, we're over
It's had its moments, but, you know, I prefer it when there's like one goblin draft and, you know, and then some real drafting. Like it definitely, I don't want to just see goblin drafts. That's for sure.
I have been a goblin victim to Caleb's like seven rares that he managed to get in his goblin draft deck.
Yeah. Caleb, who's going to be on the show later, is also one of the competitors.
Man, so it's Calebovitsch, E-Money, Cassandrith, myself, and Johnny D are the 5 competitors in the tournament that's going on right now. Yeah, I don't know. I thought about doing just one per stream, but I kind of wanted to try to knock it out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I get
you know
that.
what I mean? Because I did think about doing it, but one a stream means that pretty much I'll be drafting for the majority of the month, goblin drafting, and though it is fun, like I said, I'd rather just knock it out and then get back to educational drafting for everybody. So.
Plus, I mean, you know, you like to be, a master's drafter, right? And so once you get it knocked out, then you can actually climb the leaderboards too.
I mean,
all these goblins aren't tanking your rank.
I mean, we're at the top of gold, so there's that, right?
Yeah.
We slowly are climbing up there slowly. Luckily, we've only 0-2'd or 0-3'd, I think, 2 goblin drafts. The rest are 2 and 3 wins, so we've made some progress.
Cool. I mean, it's neat to try to make a functioning deck with those limitations.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
I mean, I think
it's especially entertaining when you actually are winning. You know. Wow,
I think
you're actually making this work.
I think the 3 of us did. It's funny because I think we all sat in on that stream, unless Mum has done it multiple times. But Man and Mouse did a couple of stipulation drafts, and one of the ones that we talked about was the clean draft, the cleanest cards.
That was the best one ever.
So
that was too funny.
Yeah, I do. Did he only do it once?
I only remember the clean one time. Maybe he did it twice, but I think that was only once. He's done he did a bunch of goblin drafts.
Yeah, so I guess we were probably all tuning into that one stream because I remember it where he was sitting there trying to justify. He's like, "Yeah, this card is fine, but you know, like
it was too funny."
Yeah, this card,
very clean card.
Yeah, this card here, this is sheer cleanliness going on here. So we're gonna take this one. All right.
Yeah, I don't think he made a bad choice like the whole time. He was like on point.
Yep. All right. Speaking of streamers, you can catch us hanging out together on twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, where we do some eternal variety streaming on Sundays, cube drafting, constructed, some deck building, some deck doctoring, goblin drafting, all the good stuff. We just finished doing this past week a mono faction tournament, so that was kind of fun. And shout out to King Bob for taking it down with a Vernal Mandrake mono blue deck.
Yeah, that was a cool deck.
Yeah, for real. Super, super cool. I was hoping to beat people in my mono blue deck just by sheer card advantage, but yeah, him playing a bunch of giant animals, I was like, yeah. And then good old RNG, he transforms one of his cards into the Scourge of Frostholm and just shuts off all my deck. I was like, yeah.
It's barely RNG though, because there's only, I don't know the exact number, but there's only like 1 or 2 cards at that cost in the game, right?
I mean, yeah, it's probably
like a coin flip more than like a dice roll.
Well, it doesn't care about factions, so there's got to be like somewhere about 4 or 5, I would think.
What is that? How much does that one cost? The Scourge?
10, I believe.
It's 10? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look, but I feel like it's only a 1 or 2. You know, it might be like 2 or 3 at the most at 10 cost.
Well, I guess while I finish doing the housekeeping, you can mute and check it out real quick so you can get back. So we can find out the actual numbers. If it's just 1, then all right, maybe it wasn't a high roll. But I mean, I feel like if it's a 1 in 3 chance, it's still kind of funny that, you know, he rolled that against my practically all spells deck.
For sure.
But and then if you can catch us on Twitch, YouTube, that's right. Search up Eternal Journey on YouTube, and you will get not only the video version of this podcast, but also draft videos, highlight reels. I'm doing another new thing here where I'm putting out a top 5 video every week about different things, and my top 5 list ranking things of Eternal. The most recent one is the funnest build-arounds, which Vernal Mandrake made it on there. As well as I am posting just the draft videos now because I did a poll on the Discord, which you are more than welcome to join if you want to talk Eternal 24/7 with a bunch of great brewers, drafters, and just all around great, nice people. We have quite a good community going on in Discord. I'm super happy with it. I've never in a million years thought how kind and generous and just fun community that we have going on there on the Discord. So definitely feel free to join that link in the show notes down below. And,
all right, Jedi.
Yeah.
It's 2. There's literally 2.
Oh, really? Okay, fine. I don't feel so bad.
Like I said, coin flip.
Yeah. All right. Fair. All right. That's fine. Heads or tails, it's going to come up not Jedi. Got it. Fair. All right. Cool. Thanks for looking that up. I actually don't feel so bad now that it was a 50-50 split. That makes me feel a little bit better. For some reason, I thought there was a couple more than that, but maybe I'm just counting like 9s and.
No, yeah, there's other that are more, but yeah, it's just Royal Guardian and Scourge. There's 2 other 10 cost ones, but they're both tokens that aren't actually like.
Oh yeah. So
rollable.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, fair.
Yeah,
fair. That makes sense. And I am assuming that it's not going to make the generic card. You know, what was it? The mask that transforms something into something of 1 cost higher every turn. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
You know, at some point that thing just turns into like a generic 9/9 or generic.
Exactly. So, yeah, once there's nothing to turn into, yeah, that's exactly right.
So
it just gets like 1 bigger every turn.
Yeah, kind of like the emerald, whatever.
Yeah, Emerald Incarnation.
Yeah, there you go. I totally got that off today and constructed, but I didn't get the achievement. What's the achievement? Like a 15/15 or something like that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Anywho, last things to do is there is a community draft stats that Jed the Homrid is putting together or has put together. So definitely check out the Reddit post. There'll be the link in the show notes down below where you can take about 10-15 minutes of your time and give your own personal rating for each card in the limited format. And that way Jed is putting together all consolidating everyone's opinions to have a rating system, much like what we did for the common and uncommon and rare and legendary shows, except it is the entire community. So hopefully to be a little more accurate, and the grading scale is also 1 through 10. So definitely check that out. Shout out to Jed the Homrid for taking time out of their personal day to make that happen. All right. So if you guys got a minute, go ahead and grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax for a second, because we are in the shout out section for this week. And I gotta say, I'm not really one to do the whole push the partner thing or whatever. I just like to stream. But we did apply for partner on Twitch because, I mean, the community's just been doing great and I've had great support from you two guys. So I decided to do it again. And man, the community has just been going crazy. And we had so many resubs, subs, and gifted subs this week. So we got a list. So buckle up, guys. I'm going to get through it. So first off, real quick, shout outs to Dizzy Sick, Chastity Weaver, and the Jim Joe. All three of them were heavy gifted or sub gifters this week, so I really appreciate you guys. Thank all three of you for the resubs as well, but thank you for sharing with the community and the bits. They definitely threw down some bits, which is kind of cool. Hopefully people like my bits animation on Twitch. If not, I'll try to update it, make it a lot more fun. But I've got the whole sonic ring explosion thing. I think that's kind of cool personally, but you know.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, now time to our subs and resubs. Here we go. So thank each and every one of you. I really appreciate it. You guys help me make more content to help you guys. I really do. I appreciate it a lot. You guys hear it from all the different content creators. Creating content is not free. Sometimes you have to pay to host things. You have to pay for editing software. You have to sacrifice time out of your day. So it means a lot. So Raven Dragon, MLNTN, Clinical Cynic, Lambasted 1, Johnny D, Man Ninja Please, POTUS for Prison 2020, G Brum, The Mike, Chainer 89, Epic Handyman, Zenny Blade, Mercurial Blue, John Holio, LM Damasi, Ancient Dire Snail, Decado, Darth Herman 2, Extinction, Crackers 25, Jack Antharia, Cassandrath, Missing Matter, Armoric, T-Feek, JCD Moan 668, Claptrap's new dubstep song, Chill Pandana, Collector, Sandyfer, Celtic Guardian 7, Circa Sparkles, Titus M. Blossom. Each and every one of you, thank you so much. And to my ongoing resubs that I may have not mentioned today, thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. You guys rock.
Impressive.
Thanks. Hopefully it sounded good on your end. Still sweet. Awesome. Still feeling a little under the weather, so hopefully some people sound better when they're a little sick, so we'll see if I do or not. But I mean, if I could always be like, you can't fix, but you can't improve on perfection. But so that's a little much. All right, and I'll probably just leave that in anyways. So, all right, Twitch did a thing where you can put reward points or loyalty points or however you want to explain it. For my channel, it's Metachlorians, you know, with the Star Wars theme for those of you that don't know. Everyone's looking at that like, what the heck is that? But it's a Star Wars reference, a really bad one, but still a reference nonetheless. And there's various things you can do. We actually had 2 of them redeemed this week, which was kind of cool. One of the new ones was that, actually 3, I guess. One of them is that I wear one of your choice of my variety of hats that I have. So Chastity Weaver chose my shark hat. And then I think I had 2 people jump in the stream and being like, what's on your head? And then another one is Death that chose for me to decipher a quote, I guess, for lack of a better term. And they chose the Cyrillic dialect for me to try to decipher. And apparently everyone got a real kick out of that. At least John did. He was blowing up chat. So
Yeah, it was really funny. Thanks,
yeah.
Steph.
Yeah, and then I think it was really funny for the people that know what it was that I was trying to decipher, because Dub Mike, right? It was Dub Mike, or was it Dizzy? It was Dub Mike. Dub Mike apparently is from that region of the world, and he said him and his wife were just absolutely cracking up. I was like, excellent. I'm just butchering this. Awesome. It was a little bit better once Death actually wrote it in Old English, I guess. Right? Is that how that works? I don't want to say English because it wasn't English, but not.
No, I think it was best in full Cyrillic.
I mean, I guess when I'm trying to decipher like hieroglyphics, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? The N looking thing was an I, right? Was that what it was?
Don't ask me, man.
Or was a U? I think it was a U looking thing was an I. I was like, I'm like, well, hell, I was gonna butcher the whole thing. Anyway, the
T is silence.
Yeah, it made sense, right? I mean,
no.
Oh my, what? All right, so you how would you pronounce TNP?
No, I have no way to, like, no, you did just as good a job as I would have.
All right, but it was just so much funnier because I was the one doing it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, apparently it took me 10 minutes to go through it and I lost 0 viewers during that time. So apparently it was entertaining at some point. Okay, so the third thing that's redeemed is the fact that we get to answer your question live on the podcast. John, do you want to read the question from Spice Weasel?
Yeah, sure. So Spice Weasel asks, considering the wide variety of takes on the current draft format, what is your opinion on the highs and lows of Echoes Limited?
So this is actually a pretty good question because it really is true. I feel like if you ask every streamer and even other players, there's some people that are absolutely loving this format, and there are other people that are like, when is this format over? I'm so over it. So it's kind of humorous. I will admit I typically do not like 5-color formats because, much like someone said, I think it was Gato Sujo, where it feels like you're just doing the same thing over and over again, right? Yes, your draft decks change a little bit because you're not opening up the same cards, but to an extent you kind of are as well, right? It's only the rares or maybe the uncommons that change, but you're drafting the same commons because they're commons and you can put them in every deck when you're running 5 colors. But what's actually worked out really well for this format is that I actually feel like it's closer to a 2-color and a splash or firmly 3-faction format, which is probably exactly what Direwolf wanted to do, and I think they achieved it very well. For example, I mean, you run the 7-1 deck list for Farming Eternal, and you said there hasn't been a single 5-color deck list submitted.
Surprisingly not, yeah.
And even with the Goblin drafting, I've been forced to go 4 and 5 colors more than I care to admit. And, you know, obviously Goblin drafting is a little awkward, but the decks have just felt a little too slow. Yes, your power level might be a little bit higher, but the decks feel just a smidge clunky compared to these 2-color and 3-faction streamlined decks. And so it's super neat for me to, because that changes it up to me. Each tri-faction has their own identity, and you know, for example, drafting Unseen, you could draft the more synergistic, trying to do the 2 combat or 2 battle skills Unseen, or you can do a more aggressive low to the ground, a bunch of 2 and 3 aggressive 3 drops and get there. There's very I love the fact that they made relics matter legit this time. They've tried to do it before and not really made it happen. This time they did. Armory is finally a thing. So I actually am extremely happy with this draft format, and there's so many cards that we've never seen before. For example, Bottled Storm and Waystone Gate, right? Yeah, Waystone Gate. That, you know, I mean, you were higher on both of them than we were, but we're like, man, is this too slow? Like 3's a lot, you know, you're not going to be doing, it's going to take up your whole turn early in the game, and yet they just managed to make it where these Entomb effects made the payoff good enough, and so these cards are completely viable. I don't know. I think they did a pretty good job as well. The Stranger thing is a little kind of overdone with the ×6 and ×12 in the curated packs. It seems like we're getting the same set of Strangers practically every pack, which I guess is what they wanted to do. But yeah, man, overall, I think I would have liked to see, if I can make one tweak to this format, I think I would have liked to see a couple of more weapons, right? I feel like this format's really lacking in the weapons department. But, you know, just to give us something else to look up with Blade Crafter and stuff like that. But other than that, this format's got it all. I'm really enjoying it. And I think it's interesting to see people still kind of explore certain cards, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think this format's great, and my low, the only low I would have is just that I would like to see a couple more weapons in the packs or whatnot, but the highs, I mean, it's you can draft whatever you want, and every deck is completely viable. I've seen the semi-mill your opponent deck be viable. Obviously, the Relic Matters, Flyers, all that good stuff. So I the one argument I will say is on my own sense is that for some reason I only see the favorable wins whenever I'm not in Elysian Flyers, and then whenever I'm in Elysian Flyers I never see it. So if you know, we can fix that somehow, draft pack gods, that would be great. But yeah, thank you to Spice Weasel for that question. That was a great question, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. I hope we get more viewer submitted questions like this.
Awesome. So, Alex, you ready to pack one, pick one, buddy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. All right, guys, for those of you that are new to the show, we like to crack open a pack of the latest format and kind of go over what our picks are for that pack, as well as our pack one, pick one. This is typically the first card that kind of helps people make a decision on where direction they want to go in their draft, and it can be very intimidating to newer drafters and interesting for more veteran drafters, so that's why we do it. So go ahead and crack open a pack of Echoes of Eternity, and going into the common section, we're going to start off with Token of Menace. This is depleted power, and you can have your choice of Fire, Primal, Shadow Influence. We have Spore Spitter. This is the 4/4 common Mandrake for 6 Shadow. It has Pledge, and then Lifesteal and Unblockable while the enemy player has 10 or more cards in their void. 1/3 elf known as Overlook Spotter is a 2 primal cost Pledge +3/+3 while the enemy player has 10 or more cards in their void. And Assault Shield. This is the +0/+2 a relic weapon at common for 3 fire, and then summon +1 attack for each of your units. Alex, do any of these stand out to you?
No, not really. The 2-drop's actually been okay. It fills the hole, and then you can totally play it from your opening hand if you have other stuff going on. So, I mean, that would be my pick out of these 4, I think.
Yeah, the 1/3 is typically an okay stat to have, but in a world where strangers attacking triggers an activation of some sort, it's a little frustrating because obviously it blocks strangers very poorly. But yeah, you're right. I've seen it do some work. It's been fine. It's one of the first 2-drops I cut whenever I get to that point, but it's also not horrible. It's weird to have Pledge on a 2-drop because those are typically the things you want to play early. So, but in a pinch, Pledge definitely does some work. But yeah, the other cards are pretty mediocre. All right, our next set of commons are Calibrate. This is the 1-time slow spell at common. Draw a relic or power card from the top 5 cards of your deck, with the rest on the bottom. Static Discharge, we're not even going to talk about that one. Just if you guys see it, ignore it. Static Discharge, ignore it. Cool artwork, bad card. Moving on. Nesting Raven, 0/4 bird for 1 primal. You may sacrifice Nesting Raven to play a 1/1 Raven with flying. And finally, Felrock's Infiltrator, 1/1 Unseen for 3 Shadow. Deadly, Unblockable, and then Mastery 5. Draw one of the top 5 cards of the enemy player's deck. They discard the rest. John, you like any of these?
No. These commons are all pretty bunk. Like, all 8 of them.
Okay.
I guess, if I had to pick one out of all these, Calibrate, maybe?
I actually don't hate Balrog's Infiltrator. I think that guy does some
I
work.
don't either, but first picking a double shadow card like that just gets passed around these packs is super uninteresting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sets you up to pick up Fel Ritual. I mean, granted, it's pick one, but it does set you up to potentially pick up Fel Rituals and Eviscerates in pack 2 and 3. So, all right.
Oof.
Next up in the uncommon section, we start off with Monument Curator. This is the 1/1 Tinker for 2 Justice, and then plus attack plus health equal to the highest cost among your relics. It is not a summon effect, so it does adjust based off your highest cost relic, so it could go up or down based on that. Back to you, John. Have you had any experience with this guy?
I haven't had it in one of my decks yet, but I've seen opponents play it, and it's, unless you just have a silence ready to go, it's actually like pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I've played against it once, and I think it was a 4/4 for a turn, and then they destroyed their relic, or maybe I destroyed it. I don't know. I'm pretty low on this card personally, and this is all theoretical because every time I've had, I think, one chance of putting it in my deck, and I just didn't feel it was consistent enough, so I always cut it. But yeah, just the fact that you're paying, for me, I just always see them having a silence effect. And so paying 2 for
It's
a
a
1/1,
liability.
I understand it definitely, especially you have, for example, Horn of Plenty, right? This thing's gonna be a 7/7, yeah, right. Horn gives it 5,
Yeah.
so it's 6 plus 1, yeah. It could be a 7/7 for 2.
Even just the siege provisions,
Yeah, true. It makes it a 4/4, yeah.
makes it a 6/6 beater, or on or no, what is it, like a 5/5?
No,
Because it's a 2 cost, so it's like 3/3 plus 2/2 from the activation.
yeah. So no, it'd be oh yeah, it is a 2 cost. You're right. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, so it'd be a 5/5, yeah.
It's already single justice, same as the card. Like it can definitely perform, but being so weak to silence makes it a liability. But it's also just a 2-drop.
Yeah. Alex, you have any opinion on Curator?
I mean, I think it could be effective. It's kind of terrifying if it's just sitting out there and your opponent doesn't have the relic out yet, and you're like, when are these things going to become 5/6s or 6/7s or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the kind of card that if they're in the packs and the people passing them are wary or not in the relic deck, like you might end up with a bunch of these, and that, like Alex said, that can be actually terrifying.
I'll still wait till someone smashes me with it before I start picking them highly.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to first pick it here or anything, but I think I've been pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah, I think it fits in the relic deck, I think, because it's, I mean, it's not really something you're playing onto, and yeah, it is a silence target, but I mean, anything is a silence target.
It's nice to have a 2-drop that's a silence target. I mean, I'll give it that.
Fair. Yeah, I guess if
it blocks and kills the thing that would silence it. 2/1 anyways.
Yeah. Well, either way, I think our other uncommons are going to put it out of contention pretty easily. So the first one is Bottled Storm. This is the 3 primal relic. Pay 3 to deal 1 damage to an enemy. So it can go face or unit or sight. After the 3rd use, sacrifice Bottled Storm. Entomb. If it's your turn, draw 3 cards. So of note, the Entomb doesn't care how it's destroyed or sacrificed as long as it is. So if your opponent, for example, ruin or dysfunctions it, as long as it's your turn, you will draw the 3 cards. Or obviously you sacrificing it off the 3rd activation, which is typically the way it's been used most often. And then we have the other one is Display of Tradition, which I believe this is the one you are high on, right, John or Alex? This is your favorite display?
Yeah, probably not anymore. I like Destruction now. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. This one's underperformed a little bit for me. I do think it's useful. I don't hate having it in my deck, but it's not as busted as I liked it. But overall, all these displays are definitely toned down a little bit from the initial cycle of them. And Display of Tradition is 3 cost, Time, Justice, Primal, which of course, once again, is the Tradition faction, Tri-faction. It's a fast spell. And you could do one of 3 things. Put an enemy unit into its owner's hand, then increase its cost by the highest cost among your relics. So obviously this is a little bit stronger on higher cost things where you could almost make something unplayable. Silence the enemy void. And I mean, it is relevant, right? We have like 4 different versions of recursion in this current format. And then give one of your units +2 health and killer, which is probably the most common use of or mode of this display. So, Alex, between these two, what's your opinion? What you got?
I probably would go Bottled Storm just because it's 1 color, but I'd like them. I like them both the same, I think. But safe draft pick, I would pick the Bottled Storm, I think.
Yeah, I could get behind that. It's single faction versus tri-faction means it has a higher chance of making your deck. There's a ton of Relic Matter synergies. Plus, this one draws you cards. It's only 1 primal, so it's easy to splash. I could get behind that completely. John, you have anything to add?
No, exactly what Alex said for me.
All right, so we have a rare, and sadly, I don't think it's going to sway us off Bottled Storm, even though I had to pick 4 of these in my Goblin draft. This is Transpose. This is the primal cycle of the new market cards. It is a 1 primal fast spell. Deal 1 damage to an enemy player. That's right, it only goes face. You gain an Aegis, and you may swap a card from your hand with a 4 cost card in your black market. Anyone have anything to add about this card?
I mean, there's
a few after, and then had to draft them for that goblin draft.
Yeah. I got 3 of them like back-to-back picks, and then I think
there's a reason why people are passing these. It's not great.
It's not, yeah.
This is.
Would you say? I think we gave it an F, right?
Yeah. There's absolutely no application. I mean, the face Aegis, I guess, kind of matters if you have a relic that's somewhat important, because I think people are slowly starting to include more main deck relicate, but even then, there's other cards that give you face Aegis that are on a relevant body and things like that. Like the 1 damage, it's funny because the shadow one deals 1 damage, but because it can hit units, it's actually somewhat useful. This just going face is just meh.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So Bottled Storm is the pick for this week's Hack 1 Pick 1. All right, guys, that's going to do it. So without further ado, let's bring on our special guest. All right, guys, I want to take a minute to welcome on the show a fantastic guest that we are happy to have. You probably already know him if you've been in Eternal for any time at all. He has 2 ECQ top 64s with a top 4 finish to his name, as well as consistently being a top 5 draft master, and expect to see him on the top 5. Typically, he races to number 1 slot every month and makes it there, and has an avid YouTube channel where you can catch videos being uploaded daily now. I want to welcome on the show fellow Eternal player Calebovitsch. How you doing, brother?
Witam wszystkich serdecznie.
Yes.
That's Polish for hi there. Hi there.
What's Polish for good? Thanks for... No, wait, you said hi. I don't even know how to respond. So hello back, I guess?
Hello front, yes.
So what's that in Polish?
Hello is cześć or witaj.
Witaj, I could say that. I could say witaj. Cześć, I might mess up. So witaj.
Witaj.
Not witaj, but witaj.
Witaj.
Excellent. Really excellent.
Sweet. I'll write that down in my show notes, and I'll be able to add that now. Vitai. Awesome. I think I got it. Okay. I'm sure I misspelled it all kinds of incorrect, but we'll roll with it. All right. So thank you so much, Caleb, for being on the show. Really appreciate it. I know a lot of people value from your knowledge and wisdom. How long have you been playing Eternal? Since, just out of curiosity?
Since the Into Shadow campaign came online.
Okay. And were you pretty much hooked immediately, or did it take a little bit of warming up too?
Pretty much immediately. I mean, after I went through the tutorial phase, and I didn't uninstall. If you don't uninstall the game while you're playing the tutorials, then you should be good for the rest of your life.
You're not wrong. The tutorial definitely... It's funny though, because I feel... I'm not necessarily 100% sure if the tutorial is too long or not, only because everyone that complains about it is coming from another card game where they you know what I mean? They're like, okay, I understand this. I know most of it. I just have to learn the specific mechanics to Eternal, versus I don't know if someone that has never played a card game would feel that way or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but for example, Mythgard did it in a slightly different manner. At the beginning, they ask you 2 questions. How much are you familiar with Hearthstone and its mechanics, and how familiar are you with Magic the Gathering and its mechanics? And if you say the maximum level answer, then the tutorial is very, very short.
Oh, that's kind of neat. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's actually a good way to go about it, especially since Hearthstone and Magic are pretty much the 2 largest card games there are out there now. So that makes sense.
Yep.
And then Eternal, with the puzzles that they have, you can learn a lot of the mechanics there. So that
exactly. And gain tons of gold, or not.
Yeah, which is always a good thing for free to play players as well. Well, shoot, even people that play to play, who doesn't want free gold?
Yeah.
But all right, so Caleb, let's go ahead and jump right into this interview, buddy, because let's just face it, people have heard me talk plenty. They want to hear you. So what is your favorite format to play in Eternal, and why?
Draft.
All right, that's exactly why we have you on the show. So why do you like draft so much?
Draft? Draft. I don't know. I just like saying draft. In a draft, that a limited format in card games in general, whether it's a draft like here or in Magic, or it's an arena-like format like in Hearthstone or Elder Scroll Legends, or the current expedition in Legends of Frontera, it is a format in which you don't need all the cards that are out there. And in a way, you don't need to know the specific metagame like you would with constructed ladders, tournaments, etc. But it is also a format in which you have to think on your feet. You have to adapt very fast to the cards you are getting, especially if you are coming from live 8-person pod drafts where there are tons of signals and they are going both ways, and you have to adapt. You can hate drafts, you can cut colors, etc. I mean, there's also been a ton of board games or card-based board games that include a draft element, and those are my favorite as well, starting from things like Seven Wonders through things like, what's the other one called? Fields of Green, and really a ton of others. So this has been always favorite mechanic of mine. I mean, way back when you were just toddlers, probably, and I was playing Magic the Gathering competitively. Limited was also my favorite format over Constructed, and a good example of how or in what way was it my favorite format is one of the national championships I played in more than a dozen years ago, where I brought more like a fun deck to it. And it had 3 rounds of Constructed, 3 rounds of Draft, 3 rounds of Draft, 3 rounds of Constructed, and after those 12 rounds, top 8 went to just play for the first place. So in the first Constructed format, I lost the first round, I won the remaining 2, but then I went 3-0 in Draft, 3-0 in Draft, then did intentional draw for the remaining 3 Constructed rounds. So being 6-0 in Draft and having 2 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss in Constructed, I went on to be in the top 8.
Wow, yeah, 6-0 in a competitive limited format is extremely impressive. So kudos to you. That definitely says something about your limited prowess. But I think you're right. The interesting thing about limited is that it's constantly evolving because, it's a self-correcting format. You don't have to do very much additional research outside of playing your games as long as you have correct card evaluation. Yes, you can kind of figure out some of the archetypes and things like that. But yeah, you don't need a card collection. You don't need to know what the meta is going to be. You just go in there and attack the draft as, an individual, because in the Eternal, we are drafting other players, but we're not drafting in a quote unquote pod. And so, and the format keeps changing, right? Every deck is new. And even if you draft some of the new cards, you might have 5 or 6 or even 8 cards in your deck that you've never seen before, never played in collection with the other ones. And so it's new and exciting to navigate a deck each and every time.
Yes, and something you just said, another pro of playing drafts. In a draft, you are more likely to play more types of cards, of individual cards, than in Constructed, because Constructed, you're just playing the top, 5 or 10% of cards because the other ones are just worse. But in Draft, you're usually not getting them, and you have to make do with what you have.
So I will do a slight deviation here, just because I'm an avid cube drafter. I have several of them in real life, and I am trying to bring it to Eternal. It's kind of getting there. I have several on Eternal Warcry. How are you a fan of cube drafting at all?
In my entire life or career, I have played exactly 0 cube drafts. I know nothing of cube drafting. I have never cube drafted. You get the gist.
Slightly.
It's good for the rest of us, because you would probably dominate if you picked it up, I'm sure.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Thank you so kind for throwing the snippets and tidbits towards us peasants here. All right, so let's dive into something a little more specific to the current format. On a scale from a 1 to 5, where do you rate Echoes of Eternity up against the previous Eternal draft formats?
Okay, you said the draft format. when I was thinking about how do I rate Echoes of Eternity as an expansion, I made 2 notes. First is for ranked, I rate it at about 2 out of 5. I mean, the initial buzz around the expansion and the hype, etc., around some cards that have been previewed was huge. But then, after the expansion got released, it was during one of my streams, and I was wondering, okay, so what card do I want to make a deck around? And I went through the whole expansion, and there was almost nothing. I mean, someone else asked me, what's my favorite card in the expansion? And I went through the whole expansion, and I said, maybe Chance? And that's about it. But when it comes to the draft format, for me, all draft formats are 5 out of 5. Even set 6 with the low fixing and the crappy, bad quality tier of curated packs, even 5.5 with the overabundance of tribal synergies and fixing, etc. For me, each draft format is great on its own. Each has its laws and specifics, and well, I just enjoy playing drafts so much that I believe I have enjoyed each format on a similar level, because each one is a puzzle that you have to solve, and if you're playing a lot of drafts, you have to solve it multiple times. I'm very okay with that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Exactly that. They're a puzzle, and part of the fun is being able to solve the puzzle. So if you don't necessarily care for the gameplay specifically, you could still enjoy trying to figure out exactly how the set's supposed to work together. So 2 things on that. One, going back to constructed for a moment, do you feel like the actual power level of this set was more in the rares than it was in the legendaries? Because I myself have been looking at the cards to do exactly that, figure out what to brew, figure out what cards is safe for people to craft, and et cetera, et cetera. And I really felt like I was really kind of trying to dig deep into the legendaries, versus when I went to the rares, I was like, yeah, that one's serviceable. Yeah, that one goes in a couple decks. Yeah, this one has some build around potential.
Yeah. I mean, aside from crazy legendaries like Grotov's Stranger, that I more often than not call Grotov's favorite because I'm a draft player.
Oh my god, me too. I do the same thing.
So Grotov's Stranger to set 8 constructed is for me somewhere mentally like Grotov's favorite to set 7 drafts.
Fair. And going back to limited, do you think the development team for Direwolf puts a lot of focus into these draft formats, or is it kind of like an afterthought?
No, I believe they do put a lot of thought into them. I mean, they are not perfect, probably, or they might be perfect and we're just not seeing it. But I don't know. I think the draft formats are even all of them being 5 out of 5. They are just improving all the time. I mean, for example, the way they're putting a lot of thoughts, in my opinion at least, into the draft formats. Okay, so they linked the expedition constructed format into the draft format, so they are one-to-one connected. So each card that you can open up in a draft, you can play in your expedition deck, right?
Correct.
So that, but they don't want to limit the card pool too much. So when they did that back in set 7, they increased the volume of cards in the curated packs that you could get from 300 or 400 or 500 to like 700 or 800. But then they also put some weights for some of the more common cards. So you could take a look at it from the other perspective. So there are, I don't know, maybe once again 200 or 300 types of cards that are valued or weighed times 3 or times 6, and these are your main cards. But there are also some cards that are not weighed at all, that have, if you look at it from the other perspective, that have a decreased weight. So you don't see them that often. And for example, if you manage to get a legendary, well, it's a random one. It's a totally random one, because I don't believe there is any weight in with any legendaries. But for example, Uncommon Strangers, 12x, you will see them more often than not. So these are the more common uncommons, so to call them. And Grodov's favored right now is just 1x, so it's not supported by those weights at all. So yeah, this makes for a more predictable format, but with the outliers that someone is not playing a rectifier to silence your unit, but they did in fact manage to get that Grodov's favored. So yeah, I believe that actually that there actually was a lot of thought put into that. So if you just cut out all the 1x cards, the volume of cards in your draft format in your curated pack stays around the same that it was, I believe. I could be wrong, obviously, but
yeah, I felt when they first did the ×3, I didn't see a big difference, and maybe that was more so what I was playing
first
against.
In set 7, I believe it was ×5, just one weight.
Okay, yeah,
was being applied. Right now it's ×3, ×6, or with the uncommon strangers it's ×12.
Yeah, and the ×12 you're definitely seeing for sure. I feel like I see all the uncommon strangers every single pack multiple times.
Yeah, and there are 800 different cards in the draft in the curated packs. So yeah.
Yeah, they definitely locked it up for sure. I'm seeing a big difference, and it does, like you said, appeal to where people can draft. They know every card they do draft they could play in Expedition. So, and maybe that was one of the things they were looking at when they were judging the power level and application of Echoes of Eternity, was more towards the Expedition format versus Throne, because right now the bar is set pretty high to break in the Throne just because we have every card in Eternal at our disposal.
Yeah, more than 2,000 cards, I believe.
Hey, we're getting up there. We're a long ways out from 25,000, but we're getting there. Yeah. So in Echoes of Eternity Limited, what is your favorite archetype to draft and why?
Shinies. And if there are no shinies in the pack, then a legendary. But if there is not a legendary in the pack, then a rare. And you have to play all of them. Oh wait, I'm just talking about Goblin drafts and the latest Goblin draft tournament, or rather Torment, that we've been participating in.
I was shaking my head this entire time. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm so happy for you, Caleb, because I am getting absolutely smashed.
I am one of Caleb's victims to a Goblin deck.
Yes. I remember after a game, Darth asked me, wait, was that a Goblin draft? And I said yes. And he said, beep.
So, did your deck just high roll, or did it perform the way it was supposed to?
I don't remember which deck it was. I mean, I did put up all screenshots of all 10 decks from that challenge on my blog, so you can just go to an address you're gonna find, or you can just ask me, or you can just Google Calebovitsch and you'll find it probably. So I don't remember. I mean, contrary to popular belief, Goblin drafts are not always 5 colors, and well, you have to get lucky, obviously, because it's huge variance in all the stipulations of this draft. But I did manage to play a 3-color deck at least once in 10 drafts.
I think the lowest I was able to get to was 3 colors with 1 splash for a stand together, and that stand together won me a game and lost me a game in that draft.
Oh, I remember I was, in one draft, I was splashing for a Thunderstrike Dragon. Yes, whoa. Splashing for triple primal, and it lost me a game. You know how it lost me the game? Because I was unable to cast it, and the opponent cast Dark Betrayal on me.
Oh, man, that's harsh.
Okay, but in all honesty, you were asking about the regular, I'm doing air quotes now, the regular set 8 draft format. So I believe the most success I have had is with the creation archetype, that is Fire Time Justice, that is usually based around relic weapons and getting them back, and if you have picked for pack 1, pick 1, or hopefully pack 1, pick 2 as well, Edge of Prophecy, and just build your deck around it, well, then you're just having a good time.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've had the most success with creation, and I personally like Armory and Constructed, so being able to draft it seems a lot of fun. So just to break your brain a little bit more into this, the I know I've come around to where you could play a few less units in the creation deck because your relic weapons tend to give you pseudo card advantage, but
Yes.
I also am not willing to go down. I've heard of farming Eternals Hats on Lamps going down to 12 units and being okay with this in their deck. Granted, they are a significantly better player than I am, but they're probably on par with you somewhat, if anyone can be on par with you. So is that something that you're kind of seeing in your creation decks as well, or not really?
Not really. I mean, 12 or 13 was the lowest I got in units in set 8, but that was a goblin draft.
Yeah.
When it comes to regular set 8 drafts, I'm trying not to go lower than 15 units, and I'm counting cards that generate units in as units, like Thunder of Wings, like Humbug's Nest, like Wormstone. Not sure about Waystone Gate, but probably not.
Yeah.
Waystone Gate more like half a unit. But the other ones, like as units. And really, 15 is the lowest. You can win your games when you are lower than 15, but then, for example, your tricks are not as good because you cannot play them at some points because you have no units, and some other weapons are worse. I mean, not relic weapons, but just general simple weapons, etc.
Yeah, it's a lot more difficult to defend your relic weapons, and at the end of the day, you have to clear out their entire board to go face. So you do need units to seal up the game. Yeah, I think 15 is about the lowest I'm willing to go personally, and I agree with you. So are you, when you build these creation decks, are you looking for, is there a set number of relics you're looking for? Do you want that payoff of like 2 hook swords or sort of edge of prophecy? What are the things that really bring this deck together for you?
Oh, for a moment there, you said hooked sword. I was thinking iron hook, and I don't want to be playing 2 iron hooks in my creation deck. No, it also depends on the number of tutors you have. Do you have any dragon forges or blade crafters? I believe is the name of the 4-cost double fire 2/2 Oni. So yeah, I mean, you have to have at least 1 relic weapon in your deck. If you have 0 relic weapons in your deck, then your creation deck, has to rely on other things that are not speciality of creation. But if you have, it's good to run like 1 medium cost, 1 low cost, and 1 high cost relic weapon at least. So if you do have those blade crafters, and you can get them even later on, more often than not, I had the problem of having blade crafters but not having any good relic weapons. So I believe there are some relic weapons that need to be picked much higher if you're in creation, like even those mithril maces. You have to pick like 1 or 2 points higher than you otherwise would in other color combinations with green. Okay.
So flipping the script here, what is your least preferred archetype to draft? I mean, obviously, I don't really see you forcing stuff unless you have some kind of stipulation. You're really good about reading drafts very well, finding the lane that's open to you, unless you're attempting to do something. In most cases, you draft what seat you're kind of given in the draft. So which one are you least hoping to open or be the open lane for you?
I mean, after creation, my second most favorite is destruction. So the fire time shadow combination. And I believe I had the most success with both. I believe also I'm coming around to tradition. The time justice primal combination that is based on relics. As far as menace goes, the fire primal shadow dragon combination, I didn't feel any drive to get into that specific combination. I mean, I know the theory behind it, I know the synergies behind it. And that is not only dragons, there are other ones there as well. But for me, the one that I had least success with is for sure purpose. I have not found any purpose in Eternal lately.
I feel like at least I'm doing something right because I keep nodding my head at you. I totally agree. I think part of the biggest thing of that archetype is it's a mix between curses and unseen, and the curses deck. Oh yeah, that's right. That is the Mill Matters one. I think that's actually, sadly, the strongest aspect of that archetype. The signpost uncommon, that agent or purpose or whatnot. Just, man, I'm seeing 5 or 6 of those go by every single draft because no one wants it. And one of these days, I'll eventually suck it up and draft every inflict conscience that I see, and then draft 5 of those guys, and hopefully be able to start shooting things. But the deck just doesn't seem to have an identity for me.
Same here.
I tried drafting twice the whole double battle skill unseen, and it felt very clunky to me. John personally feels like the unseen is more of an aggressive deck where you're playing, for example, the switchblade and then the cultist that give it first strike or quick draw and be very low to the ground. But
please don't get me on switchblade. I had in one of my later Goblin drafts, I had a game where the opponent played Steely Stranger on turn 2. You know, the Justice one that gives a battle skill to the top unit of your deck.
Okay.
And after his attack, the next card he drew was a Switchblade, which got, I don't know, Endurance. And his next draw was Switchblade, which got double damage.
Oh, wow. Talk about high roll.
Yeah, those were 2 really high rolls, both on the skills and the units that got them. So, yeah, I mean, you can see it also in Constructed if you're playing again in Expedition against Argentport or Corendon Unseen decks. These decks are as RNG fueled as you can get in this game, I believe, without getting into, I don't know, firebomb meme territory. But the fact that you have more than a dozen battle skills and you can roll Reckless, or you can roll Revenge, or you can roll double damage, or you can roll Unblockable, that is make or break here, and that might be one of the things that makes it not great. The other one being that it has a really mixed identity and it cannot find itself anywhere. I mean, I think Creation and Tradition have the best set identity, and I think Tradition might be the single best one for Relic Matters. You might not see it a lot, but there are, for example, time cards that get you back relics from your void. You have your Akanthas Outriders. You have your Draw X, where X is the highest cost. I mean, you have Dying Sun Tapestry. That card being, I wanted to say printed, but digitally made, maybe, is the word. That says there has to be a build around this, even in draft. So that's for those of you who don't know, Dying Sun Tapestry is a 6-cost Huru relic that you can play for free if you have played. I believe it's a curse and an attack and a relic.
Yes.
In one turn, something like that. So yeah, you can cast it as early as turn 1 for free, but then you have a 6-costing relic in play, and your 2-costing Justice Tinker, the 1/1 uncommon that has +X, where X equals the highest cost relic you have. Well, that's just a huge one. Then it's a turn 2 7/7 even, or you have your honeypots, etc. So yeah. I believe Tradition has the highest synergies, and Purpose has the lowest synergies. So the name is, well, it's a bad pun, I believe.
Counterintuitive.
Maybe they didn't find any purpose for it.
Or maybe that's our purpose, to find a reason to play it.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, you could go for unseen battle skills, you could go for mill, you could go for curses, but it's a bit of all three, and all the stars have to align for that to happen. I mean, I was thinking about what card could I open, pack one, pick one, and grab for me to want to go into Purpose. And one of the first things that came to mind was restrained action, restrained purpose. Wait, let me find that. Restrained.
Yeah, again, the 3 cost or the 5 cost.
The 6 cost restrained action. The 6 cost cursed relic that says when the cursed player plays a unit, play a -1 curse on it. That pacify from the 3/1 from the 3/1 Griffin, but also at the end of your turn, play a 1-cost unit from your deck, then increase this ability by 1. So Restrained Action is Purpose all in one card because it tries to do everything. It tries to play curses, it is a relic, it gives you units, but I believe I would rather play this in Tradition than in Purpose, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you also want to capitalize on getting a free unit every turn, right? So you have to make sure that your card quality is worth it, to where the unit you're getting is somewhat putting you ahead on cards and not just a vanilla body that you're slapping into play.
Yeah.
The one last thing on this, how do you feel about Biting Winds? Because personally, us here at Eternal Journey, we're super high on that card. We think it's absolutely great removal, and we're seeing it pass so late. I think it's very easy to get 2, 3, 4. I mean, at one point, I could have had 6 of them in my deck. I finally passed on the 6th one. So where are you on Biting Wind? Which is the 3 in a primal, fast spell, deal 6 damage to an attacking, just to an attacker because it hits face. Yeah, there you go. Enemy, pick it.
Yes, it is very good because it answers the first iteration of Edge of Prophecy. With units being slightly bigger than before, it is just a better Lightning Strike. I believe I would rate it about as high as I would Lightning Strike. I don't know if I would go higher on one or the other, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, they're almost the same thing. The biggest... I find it very strange that both cards are actually in the draft format. Both Lightning Strike, 2-cost deal 4 to an attacker, and Biting Winds, 3-cost deal 6 to an attacker. It's similar if they introduced in the curated packs Dark Return, with Triumphant Return being in packs 1 and 4. I mean, there is Immortalize, but Immortalize differs from Dark Return. And Dark Return and Triumphant Return are what Lightning Strike to Biting Winds is.
Okay, got you. Yeah, it's similar to having, like, for example, Seer and Conflagrate to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent, yes.
Okay, cool. So let's pull it back a little bit and go to slightly more broader strokes. And what's your approach to the draft process? Like, obviously, we've established that I think really the sweet spot in this format, which is really interesting to me and why I think Direwolf does put extra thought into their limited formats, is the fact that we have so much fixing. We have so many things to kind of do the 5-color good stuff. And I really do believe that the true sweet spot of this format sits somewhere between 3 factions and like 2 factions with a light to medium splash. Mm-hmm. Because it just, they synergize so well. You're kind of slowing yourself down and make your deck a little too clunky if you go straight 5-color or 4-color. Mm-hmm. So how do you attack the drafting process?
Well, when it comes to 3 colors, less or more, I remember that the first 2 drafts I played in set 8 format, I went for 4 and 5 colors, and they went terrible. Then I just restrained myself to 3 colors, and it was better. Now, as for the drafting process, it depends. It depends on the goal. I mean, while drafting, the answer usually is it depends. Which card should I pick? It depends on what you already have. It depends on the signals, etc. So in draft, everything is it depends for me. But as far as the goal for drafting, it also depends. If it's a challenge, if it's a stipulated draft, if it's a 10 goblin draft tournament, the goal is to have fun. I mean, try your best to do with crappy cards. And I remember my second worst deck from all the 10 decks, I went 6-3 with, because 2 of my opponents got screwed. One opponent had made a very bad play on one of the first turns and just conceded. I mean, even with that, they should be playing still, but they conceded. And I just won 3 games because I drew the good cards. So yeah, that's the challenge there. In challenges, the goal was to having fun. If I'm sprinting to Draft Master, as I sometimes do, I did it at least twice now. And fun fact, I checked, and both times I had the exact same time from the start of the season to getting to Master. That was, I believe, 6 hours, 14 minutes, both times.
Oh, wow.
Inside 5 drafts. taking breaks, etc., etc. So if I'm sprinting to master, it's me try-harding to pick the cards as fast as I can, to get to go through the games as fast as I can. But if it's all the drafts that are in between, I'm not playing any drafts off stream. I'm just playing them while I'm streaming. So in all those drafts, I'm trying to explain what I'm doing as best as I can and teach people how to draft, what to draft. Sometimes I ask people what they would draft and later make my comment. Or if I'm saying first what I would pick here, and for example someone in the chat disagrees, then I'm willing to participate in that discussion. Also, my wife makes fun of me each time I have a losing streak in the draft format, and she's always saying, "Well, that's what you get for writing such a good draft guide." What do you thought would happen?
Yeah, that is kind of funny. I do think that is kind of humorous about content creation, is that you're essentially making it harder on yourself by helping everyone else. It's one of the things that we joke around here as well. Like Alex, for example, and myself, since we're high on biting wins, it's like, man, should we just stop saying that? That way we keep getting all these biting wins in our decks. Because we're constantly preaching about it, and obviously the word is out on creation. I think I see creation in the draft queues more often than anything else. Now, how much of those are forced and how much are not is something. But so to be a little more specific, for example, okay, so you're going through your first pack, your pack one. Are you hoping to pick colors or pick cards that are kind of in the same faction, one or two factions, and kind of keep your deck streamlined a little bit to where you're more flexible in packs 2 and 3? Are you hoping to see maybe one or two signpost uncommons, like for example, Edge of Prophecy, pick 3 in pack 1 or something? And do you want to take that and kind of try to go down that path, seeing that as a good signal? Or are you just taking your first 4 or 5 picks and taking whatever card is the most powerful in the pack and kind of waiting later on to solidify which one of those you're going to end up making, playing and making your deck?
Okay, so in my opinion, a very high number of impactful cards, of powerful cards you're getting, synergistic cards you want to build your deck around, not a lot of them want you to go into 3 colors right out the gate. The Edge of Prophecy being, the biggest example of, yes, I pack 1, picked 1, Edge of Prophecy, I want to try and go into creation, sure. Or Sorcerer's Wand, and I want to go into tradition. But usually, if you're picking a good card in pack 1, you have a couple of paths open up in front of you. And you don't have to just go for it or something else. So in pack 1, I try to, unless it's a stipulated draft, or for example, I open up a legendary that I want to see if it's playable and try to build my deck around it. But that's sort of usually me doing science so that I know how to rate the card later. If it's a legendary, I'm not going to open it anyway. But at least trying to wrap my head around it.
Unless it's Vargo's Pelt.
Okay, let's not go there, okay?
Fair enough.
Let's leave the skin on the bear for now. Okay, so I'm taking a card, pack 1, pick 1. And, what's a card that's, for example, 2 color that would make me want to go into specifics? Let me just give me a moment. I will try to think of an example in the 2 color variety.
Rakano Stranger, or the Rakano Stranger? What's it called? Blacksmith.
Blacksmith. No. I was thinking about something slightly different. Just please give me a moment. No, the uncommons I'm seeing here are not really going there.
Yeah, all the powerful ones I'm thinking are 1 color, like Stalker or Waystone. Alex, you got any?
Okay.
Well, Aramot's Machinations would maybe be a first pick for some folks.
Yes, and Aramot's Machinations, but the only 3-color combination that goes off Xeon quite well is Destruction. So if you're picking up Aramot's Machinations, somewhere in the back of your head, you should be thinking, okay, so my third color is probably going to be fire. But I'm thinking of something slightly else. Of, for example, okay, if pack one, pick one, I'm picking up Keeper's Shield, the Rakano 3-cost 3/1 relic weapon that has Spellcraft 3, play Reinforce. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, so this means that probably my third color is going to be time. So let's say I pick something like that. So in the following packs, I'm thinking, okay, first I'm looking for Rakano cards, then I'm looking for creation cards, and then I'm looking for just powerful cards. And if there's a huge disproportion of their value, then I make a switch. For example, if pack 2, I have another Keeper's Shield, but let's say there is also Majestic Skies. So yeah, I could go for a second Keeper's Shield or for the first Majestic Skies. And Majestic Skies, I believe, is much better, first Majestic Skies, than a second Keeper's Shield, right? So right there, I believe more often than not, I would just pick Majestic Skies, and in the third pack, see if I have something to pick more synergistic with one or the other. That is a very, very edge case scenario here. So let me go back for a moment and generalize. So I'm picking a card, pack 1. Pack 1, pick 2. I'm thinking of, okay, which of these cards has the highest rating in my mind, or the highest value? And how does it synergize with what I already have? And if in a booster pack there is a card that has a very high value, but that doesn't synergize with my cards, and there is a card that synergizes with the cards I already have but has a lower value, then there is a point where I just take the better card, the card that is better in a vacuum or in another archetype. And after several picks, I believe around pick 5 or 6, you should be seeing signals of what cards are getting passed to you and what color combinations or synergies you will be also seeing in pack 4. Then, in packs 2 and 3, that is when you are getting your highest amount of garbage rares and influence fixing.
Okay.
And go for influence fixing, not for garbage rares, obviously. Because, we've already said today that there is a lot of influence fixing in this format, but most of it is in packs 2 and 3. In 1 and 4, you have 5 tokens that are common. You have 5 chants that are rare. Do you have something else that I missed? Maybe?
The stranger, interloper.
Yeah, interloper. Okay, that's another common. But I believe that's about it. There might be something else that I'm missing right now. But off the top of my head, these are the ones. Maybe there's something in time.
Carve it. You can high roll carve it. That's fixing. Semi.
No, that's high rolling a bomb.
Fair. Good point. All right. Excellent. I think that's more or less what I've kind of felt as well, especially towards the end. I almost feel like the tokens go very late in pack 4, which is kind of odd to me, considering that this is a format where I felt like you're making more cuts than usual because there's so many playables. So
unlike set 6 drafts.
Yeah.
Where you were scrambling to get enough units and enough playables, and you were high picking Pyro Adepts. Oh, those were the days.
Oh, the time of olds. These new kids have no idea what drafting was like.
Back in my day, people were playing physical cards, not staring at their gosh darn screens all the time.
Oh, man, the epicness. Where do you sit on the overall strangers? Do you like to just take the fixing strangers and let your opponent power them up? Or are you okay taking the things like, obviously power levels, but Magnificent Stranger, Steel Stranger, all those that kind of have those symmetrical effects?
Back in my day, strangers were just cool. Right now, they're for hipsters. And what I mean by that is, well, it depends on the stranger. I mean, most of the rare strangers are just amazing, and I want to pick them up, and you can build around them. The legendary strangers are amazing as well. As for the common strangers, I mean, there are some better ones and some worse ones. I don't believe I played a lot of the common green ones. the ones that give battle skills. That might be why Purpose is not doing it for me. But yeah, Magnificent Strangers are very good. Covetous Strangers are very good. And I kind of like the symmetry there, because if you are playing Strangers and your opponent is playing Strangers, but you're behind on board and you want to catch up by playing a Stranger, then the opponent gets the beneficial attack effect first from, for example, a Covetous Stranger, which makes these cards more balanced than one might think when they're getting blown out by a deck full of Strangers. Also, all those Strangers being in set 8, and also those uncommon Strangers in the curated packs, mean that the color fixing, the influence fixing Strangers are better in this format than they were before, even in formats where you needed them to have a lot of fixing, like I believe it was 5.5 or something like that, or 6.5.
Yeah, because now they have additional value than just being a plain old 2/2 for fixing. Yep.
Exactly. And the question of, okay, your opponent played a fixing Stranger on 2, you played a fixing Stranger on 2, on turn 3 they are attacking into you, do you block, do you not block? And the answer to that question is, it depends.
Yeah, I could see that, because my natural state is to always block the trade-off, because you don't know what additional synergies they have, but I can totally understand what's in your hand, what the playoff is. Yeah, I understand that. But
what you have in your deck. Do you have another Stranger in hand that you want to attack with? For example, if you have a Covetous Stranger in hand that you want to play it on the following turn, and for you to be the first one attacking with a Stranger. But if Strangers are just for fixing and not for synergies in your deck, then you usually just want to block theirs off.
Yep. That's my default too. The fewer the Strangers on the board, the better, in my opinion, because it makes for easier board states to navigate. And just in case if they drop a bomb Stranger, there's less likely they get added synergy from it. So there are various interactions in this format because of the tricolor effect, the synergies and things like that. For example, Mysterious Waystone triggering additional pings off of corrupted units, the Shade sacrificing themselves, and things like that. What is one of your favorite interactions of this format?
Okay, I am prepared to answer this question with several scenarios.
Okay, have at it.
So first one is the fast market spells. The fast spells that give you access to a market. And I did manage to do a blowout in one situation when I was playing a Goblin draft. So I attacked with Makar's Bloodwolf, 2/3 lifesteal. The opponent triple blocked early in the game with no power up. Triple blocked with a 2/3, a 2/2, and a 1/1. So what I did was I played Reinvigorate on my unit, giving it +2/+2. So I had a 4/5, but the opponent had 5/6 worth of stats. But then also I played Condemn on one of their units, dealing 1 damage. So they were theoretically down to 5/5 amongst all units. And out of the market, I got, drumroll please, Rage, which I played on my unit, and I had a 5/6 unit against 5/5 worth of stats. And it took a lot of cards, but it was such a blowout at that point. I mean, in the end, I lost that game to a very complex situation where I could have read the board state slightly better. But that situation, that just getting that Rage out of the market for the additional +1/+1 was such a huge blowout that, yeah.
Yeah, you at the very least you won the depth of knowledge game that run. That was pretty good. I like that. That was all that in mid combat too.
Yeah, like playing 3 different cards. Well, if the opponent had Arcane Restraint, I could have only played one of those spells. But let's not talk about garbage tier rares here. The second interaction you've already talked about, and that's Shades being a sub-theme of all the destruction decks, of all the sacrifice decks. From another Goblin draft, I mean, in the last week I've played 10 of them, so most of my current stories are from Goblin drafts. I had a Stone-Scar Maul, the 6/3 relic weapon with Overwhelm. And I had 2 honeypots, and I'm not sorry, opponent.
Oh wow. Yeah, that sounds pretty spicy, not gonna lie. Do you want to break
7
down
damage with Overwhelm, then 7 damage with Overwhelm, and hit a small unit with a hammer, and Overwhelm with that, and bye-bye. The last interaction, and it was one of the earlier interactions I did in this format, was playing Tainted Mark and playing a lot of Plagued Griffins.
Ooh.
And playing a lot of Electropy on opposing units. Because, well, some people still don't understand it, but Electropy is a curse that had not seen any play whatsoever. But given that we have a cursed relic called Tainted Mark, it is a 5-cost primal cursed relic that says when one or more units hits the enemy player, you draw a card. One or more units hits the enemy player, not your units, just units. And Electropy is a curse that had not seen any play whatsoever, but now you can play it quote-unquote for free off of a 1/5 flyer, the Plagued Griffin, and that curse says at the end of its controller's turn, that unit deals 1 damage to its owner. So that's a unit dealing damage to the opponent, and you're drawing a card. Thank you.
Yeah, that's some serious value. Yeah, it's some serious value, especially because it's coming off of a 1/5 flying body that could attack and defend pretty well.
And I believe in that draft, I also had several precision plunges. The 1-cost primal spell, give a unit with flying, killer, and deadly. And playing that on those 1/5s, well, was enough. Let me just say that. Was enough. So not only did I play Electropy on something, I had a 1/5 flyer with killer and deadly that I could later reuse because, well, people are running turn back time, etc., etc. So huge value engine that one was.
Yeah, so in short terms, catch Calebovitsch on Twitch and you could get to see all kinds of great limited play. So with that, Caleb, let's go ahead and close this off. Tell us a little bit about ways people can find your content outside of when you're streaming, i.e. your YouTube channel. This year, you made it a point to really push your content on there, and you've been posting videos daily, which I gotta say, being a fellow YouTuber is not the easiest thing to do. So please, by all means, plug what kind of content you're doing on there, what it is that you're hoping to achieve, and just kind of what the work ethic is for you on that.
Okay, I mean, if you want to just catch me on the internet, you just type in Calebovitsch, but be careful to type it in correctly. I know it's a difficult one, but I think I'm the only person on the interwebs using that handle, so yes. That's kind of easy, but you can find me on twitch.tv/Calebovitsch, on youtube.com/Calebovitsch, on calebovitch.wordpress.com, so everything Calebovitch related. As for the YouTube, I thought to myself, I do tend to have rather fun games while I'm streaming, so why not try to make some highlights like there are in other card games? Well, like people are uploading quite often highlights, so while I'm streaming, I'm trying to just jot down when the highlight is happening, and then I'm trying to find some spare time to just make them into videos, just catch them from the stream, just maybe trim them a bit, give them some cool titles, and just do it. And since the beginning of January, I thought to myself, let's try to do that daily, and so far I've succeeded. So each day at 3 p.m. Central European Time, you can find a new video on youtube.com/Calebovitsch that is called Eternal Highlights. Also each Sunday, including the day of this podcast recording, also at 3 p.m. CET, you can catch a deck check episode where I try to go more into detail about a deck or another. Usually they're not good, but usually they are very fun.
Hey, at the end of the day, that's why we play this game, right? To have fun. I mean, there's a competitive side, there's all kinds of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's because we enjoy it. So,
yes, exactly.
Caleb, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your day and content creation and cat enjoyment and whatnot to be on the show. I think you definitely made some great points, and the listeners have a lot to learn from you. And to everyone listening, of course, make sure you throw follows, likes, subscribes, all that good stuff on all Caleb's content. You will definitely improve your game and at the very least be entertained.
Hopefully.
So with that leads us into our next segment, which is What's the Play? So, of course, you guys can always check out these articles where we go a little more in depth on these What's the Plays on eternalwarcry.com. And you get to also see the picture on it if you're not watching on YouTube. So, this week's What's the Play is a very interesting game where we are very much behind going up against Isomorphic. Isomorphic is on 4 power with Time, Justice, Shadow, and Primal. We are at 4 power with Fire. And this was a Goblin deck. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a Goblin deck because we almost cut Oathbook. Anywho, Fire, Justice, Primal, and Shadow. So there you go. 4 color, good stuff. They're at 29 life. We are at 5 life. We have an Oathbook in play. So whenever a single unit attacks, it gets a +1/+1. And it has to go face. And a 3/3 Flying Brood of Eremont. Isomorphic has a 2/2 Huru Stranger and the 3/3 Draw Frostkin. Yeah, with quick draw, which was given by an Entranced Cultist Shade. In our hand, we have a Spellstorm Stranger, the 1/4 for 3 primal, the rare dragon that fights, and you could pay 7 to deal damage equal to the number of cards your opponent has in their hand for 4 primal. It's a 2/4. And then a Water Conjuring, which is the 3 primal fast spell, stun 2 enemy units, and it is our turn. So let's start off with you, Alex. What would you do here?
When it's a pretty tough spot.
Oh, I'm
right?
sorry. We've identified they have a fast spell. Sorry about that. Let me add that because they have 3 power up. Yeah, we've identified what the fast spell is. I'm not sure, but we have identified that they have a fast spell.
There's 2 things you could do. I think you can play the 2/4 and kill the stranger, and then swing with your flyer so that it gets the boost and then becomes a 4/4. Or you can Water Conjuring, but definitely not Decimate, and then get 2 attacks in with this guy. So it'll get pumped twice, and then it'll be a 5/5. And then the following turn, you play the 2/4 and then kill the stranger then. I think I would probably try to preserve my life total, though, and use the Water Conjuring here, I think.
Okay. So use the Water Conjuring and swing to pump the Brood into a 4/4?
Well, swing, and then hopefully he doesn't have a Biting Wind or whatever. I guess that depends on what the fast spell is. And then if they take it, then Water Conjuring on their turn. And then on your following turn, swing again with just the 3/3, and then you can play the 2/4 or the 1/4 on the ground, or whatever, see what you get. But I think I would probably play the Water Conjuring here.
All right, what do you think, John?
I actually this like Alex said, this is a really tough spot. This is like a very precarious situation you're in. And like it's I like Alex's line. It's like one of the safer lines here. We know that they don't, if you've identified the fast spell, we know it's not like the green Conjuring because they don't have double justice, right? And that'd be the biggest threat to relying on the Water Conjuring here. Growing this 3/3 will help it block everything on the board. So I think that's like a good investment of your resources here. There's a good chance that if you go for like the 2/4 here, like even if I play the 2/4, I still don't think I would go for a killer attack, because killing the 2/2 is just blocked already by literally by both units. You can't kill the 3/3, and like if you go for a killer attack and then they do a buff, you just get completely wrecked, and then they can still just attack you with their 3/3, and then you're down to 2. Like it's all pretty bad. So honestly, I do think the safest play here is attack with the 3/3 and then Water Conjuring on their turn. That'll buy you 2 turns. and buff your guy, which makes him a better blocker on future turns. And yeah,
you could like attack with the 2/4 by itself and pump that so it can kill or a bigger thing, if it doesn't get killed.
Yeah, I think that's the safer / higher upside play here.
Yeah, for me, what I ended up coming down on is because I wasn't able to identify what their fast spell was, I didn't want to potentially get blown out. So, John, you made a very good point talking about not having double justice. So having the green conjuring off the table definitely helped out a little bit. But I mean, it could be something. Obviously, it's not disjunction because I feel like they would have just used it to destroy the oath book. But I mean, it could be their own water conjuring. It could be biting wind. It could be a couple of things. And so because of that, and not it could even be finest hour. I played it a little conservative here, and I didn't want to get blown out by attacking and then having them, because we're at 5 and they have lethal on board, and so not opening up myself, taking one trick off the table at least with biting wind because they left 3 power open with 3 cards in hand. I went ahead here. I wanted to use wind conjuring as a way to negate whatever their fast spell was, so I didn't want to necessarily use it proactively to stun their units because of that. That was something that did cross my mind, exactly what you said, Alex, as far as attacking to make it a 4/4 so now I could block both units. But the risk of them having something to negate that, or just having like losing a little bit of tempo there for me and not being able to further develop the board was an issue. Right, because I could stun their board attack and then it's a biting wind, kills my guy, and now I have an empty board and they get to develop their board with a 3rd unit. Was a little risky for me. So, and I didn't want to use the killer effect on the dragon to that fast spell because that's obviously just asking for a blowout as well. And so I felt the safest play was just to run out the 1/4. That way the 3/3 can block the 2/2, the 1/4 can block the 3/3, and if they want to use the trick they can, but they're using the trick to kill a unit and not kill me. And so, and I'm okay losing the 1/4, and that way I still kept the dragon in hand as a potential removal spell later. And hopefully if there was a turn that I could leave up the power, then there would be a world where I could block. And if the trick, like for example, has the risk of blowing me out, I could take their units out of combat with the stunning conjuring, maybe start to get in some damage on the crackback. So that's the play I ended up taking, was playing the Spell Shaper and just sending it back and seeing what their play was. So how do you guys feel about that? Because I don't think either of you guys mentioned that.
No, we didn't. I think the biggest risk there by doing that is literally that you're just dead to a water conjuring, which like based on their power and the pause, like that's kind of what I'm putting it on. You know what I mean? And so like you don't want to leave yourself like open to that, I guess. I don't know. That was kind of like the tiebreaker for me why I decided to just go for the water conjuring play here.
Yeah, and that's the one part that's tough about just a screenshot as well, is that we don't know what happened in the subsequent turns prior to that. If there was something that could have identified that they don't have the water conjuring,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not 100% sure. Obviously both their guys attacked, but that's because they stunned it with the Frostkin. So and yeah, there is that chance. I guess, man, it just is tough. The way the game played out. They ended up. They actually didn't attack at that point. They didn't attack the next turn, and then I had to decide whether to run out the dragon or not into their open power. I ended up losing to. I used the water conjuring the way I wanted to, as far as to stop their attack. But by that point, they did have the second justice source, and we did get blown out by wind conjuring. I know that's how the game ended, but I think it ended like 3 turns later or something like that. It was tight, but yeah, I just like this play because it was very intricate, the things we could do, trying to play around not only their trick, but having essentially 3 different spells that we could play here and being stuck on power and having the option to attack to pump our units as well. So I guess you're right. In hindsight, though, it being a little more proactive does give us a window to play spells and pump our guys. So I could see that as well.
Yeah, this was a, all three cards are a possible line here. Like none of them are just strictly wrong, I don't think.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, the other thing too that did cross my mind as well is if the stranger doesn't die the 1/4, then there's also a world where we could attack with that, making it a 2/5 and leaving the 2 dragons back or whatever. It just, that was the other thing in my mind too, that as soon as I get more blockers on the ground, then I have a higher chance of consistently attacking and starting to build up my team. But it's tough. Being stuck on power didn't help there for sure. So. All right, awesome, guys. So that's the what's the play. Let us know in the comments below what you think you would have done in this play. And yeah, we'll have a discussion. You're more than welcome once again to join us on Discord and talk about it some more. Maybe I should do that. Maybe we should make a what's the play channel in the Discord.
Yeah, good idea.
Good idea.
But all right, guys, that's going to do it for our what's the play, which means we are into our final segment, which is the constructed corner. And John told me that you guys like deck lists, so we're going to keep doing that for a little while. And this week we're going to go to Throne, right? Because we talked about Expedition. Yeah, we talked about Zine and Strangers last week. So this week we're doing Winchest Carver, or Ambition Carver. I'm sorry, I need to fix that. Ambition. It's starting to sink in with me. I don't know about you guys, but those names are actually starting to sink in, like Creation and all that stuff. I think
I've got it for the new stuff, but man, I'm definitely stuck on like Winchester.
Genève,
yeah, that's gonna be hard to stop. I mean, on the ECQ broadcast, they all use the Ambition names and things like that too.
What's
that's definitely one they want us to use, but it's too late.
Genève is Instinct, right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Shoot, I don't even know what the other ones are. Corendon and Aurelian. I have no idea what those are. It's all right.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
All right, guys, so you can catch Ambition Carver, at least the list I am running, on the Eternal Warcry. The link will be in the show notes down below. And there's millions of flavors of this deck, so I definitely don't want to say that it's hard for me to give credit to any specific person. I just kind of built this on the fly from what I've seen on ladder and played it a little bit. It could probably use some tweaks, but overall it's performed for me fairly well. And I'll go through the list very quickly here for you guys. And actually, let me switch the view so it's a little cleaner because I have it in faction view. Okay, so starting off, 4 Grenadin Drone, 4 Kindling Carver, 4 Winchest Cargo, which is probably yes or no, not 100% sure on that. The deck actually stops at 4 is really where it operates. You can go up to 6, but the deck works just fine off of 4 and 5 power. 4 Devour, 4 Kato Arena Herald, 4 Varos Favors, 4 Assembly Line, 4 Display of Ambition, 4 Ixton Merchant, 2 Madness, 4 Shadowlands Guide, 3 Shrine to Carve It, 4 Crown Watch Press Gang, 1 Strange Burglar, 4 Fire Sigil, 1 Justice Sigil, 3 Shadow Sigil, Granite Waystone, or 4 Granite Waystone, 4 Rakano Banner, 4 Seed of Chaos, 1 Seed of Glory, and 4 Stone Scar Banner. The market consists of a Boar, Edict of Shavka, Fire Conjuring, Shrine to Carve It, and another Strange Burglar. So the reason why I like the Ambition version is because Splashing Green gives you access to Display of Ambition that lets you get back 2 units from your Void, and Crown Watch Press Gang, which allows you, it is a 3/3 Revenge that allows you to tutor up a 1-drop whenever you play it, which obviously allows you to get both Carver and Grenadin Drone to fuel the Carver. So the consistency of this deck is quite high. You have Shadowlands Guides to also reoccur your Grenadin Drones and your Carvers, so you constantly have fuel. It is fairly easy to fill up your board with all these cards with Kato and Assembly Line. That way Kato can make 8/8s fairly easily. And obviously you have the Madness Devour combo or Madness and Carver combo to steal some of your opponent's units and get them off the board. Shrine to Carve It is really what makes this deck work. And because of that, it is why I'm running just the original merchants, that I can have the whole 3-1 split with a Shrine to Carve It in the market to just further have consistency to that. For redundancy purposes, should I not have a sacrifice effect, I have a Fire Conjuring in the market, which I like. It's won me a couple games on its own because people feel like they're safe because I do not have a Shrine in play. And then the Fire Conjuring will help me get in the extra damage. Should I have extra power, I can also invoke off of it. Strange Burglar is an inclusion I've seen a couple of times, and I actually like it quite a bit. It gives you another sack engine as well as fueling your hand. And if you have Shrine to Carve It in play, you actually do not take the 3 damage from the Strange Burglar because it has lifesteal. And so it will try to do 3 damage to itself, and then it will heal for 3 damage. So yeah, that card's pretty darn good. I'm not quite sure what the correct number is, so I'm only running 1 and 1 right now because it is 4 to play and then 2 to activate. So there is a slight delay, but the money, man, it definitely, the Shadowlands Guide and Crown Watch Press Gang is definitely where your money's at in this deck. Just being able to tutor up and bring back your Carver consistently is so good with this deck, and you have a ton of redundancy and resilience through that. It's not the easiest deck to play. You definitely have to maneuver it quite well because of the way that Carver interacts, where it draws you a card, but you only get it for that turn, and you have to maximize your resources to make sure you're getting the most life out of Shrine to Carve It while also not decimating your board. But the deck is a lot of fun, and then obviously getting inherent value off of things like Display of Ambition. You can get back Shadowlands Guide and Press Gang to tutor up another Carver while getting a drone out of your void. Like, yeah, the value of this deck is definitely there for sure. John, have you had any experiences with this deck on ladder?
I only playing against it quite a bit, and not just the Winchester version, but some of the other versions too. And I'm with you. Like, I think the Winchester version is very, very strong. This list that you're providing here looks pretty solid. I'm not sure off the top of my head what I'd swap, but I definitely am not a fan of like cargo. That's the one glaring thing that I'd look for a replacement there. Especially since you're stopping basically at three power with this deck. But yeah, like I think the Winchester version has a lot of consistency and resiliency that maybe some of the other versions don't. And yeah, it seems like it's really fun for my opponents when they're playing this deck. Like, they're just drawing so many cards, and like sometimes you can just kind of win out of nowhere with that Shrine in play and things like that. I'm definitely looking forward to playing around with this archetype and this deck in particular once I get some of these Katos and some of these other legendaries crafted.
Yeah, my reason behind cargo was only because late game there's the potential of getting a unit off of it, so you have more fuel for Carver or another unit to attack with the Shrine. That was my only reason behind it. Maybe
it does work in this deck. I mean, I haven't tried it, obviously, like I said, but it's just in general.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Like I said, I didn't take this list off of anyone. This is a list I made and what I'm running right now. And actually, it might be less Devours. I ran 4 because I want the card draw, but you probably could go like 3 and 3 split between Devour and Madness, just because you have, Stranger, Carver, and Devour to sack the things you steal with Madness. So I'm not necessarily sure. It could be there's definitely some room to tweak for sure.
Are you running into any like Avagraft problems or anything like that?
No, actually, at least in Throne, I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, so like if you do, if that starts to be more of a thing again or anything like that, like that's when Devour can be really good. Devouring your unit they're trying to Avagraft basically like counters it.
Yeah, true.
while generating card advantage for you. So, but I heard you say you have Boar in the market, so I mean you've already got some protection against things like that.
Yeah, for sure. But all right, sweet,
cool. Nice deck.
Yeah, thanks. Cool. All right, well, that's Constructed Corner, guys. Once again, you can catch that deck list in the show notes, which leads us to our closing statements. So, YouTubes, catch out all our online content offline, kind of like when we're offline, at youtube.com/eternaljourney. You can watch the video version of this podcast, draft videos, constructive videos, my top 5 list, some updates, all the good stuff. And if you'd like to hang out with us, and twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you can catch myself on camera with John and Alex hanging out in the chat, Yoda face palming all my Puntawans.
You know it.
Of course, I'd like to always mention the Discord now. We have a growing community that's doing absolutely great things there. Phenomenal people out there just trying to help everyone get better at Eternal. So, and some occasional off-topic stuff. Like I just somebody yesterday was posting the new Batmobile, which I thought was super cool. I think it's a Challenger that they modified. So kind of bringing it back to the old school. Like, we're just going to give you a souped up car, Batman. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, you can catch both these guys in all those great places to hang out with me. And occasionally John does stream at John Julio on twitch.tv. So
I promise to do some draft this month on Twitch for sure.
There you go. Hot take. You can hold it up against them. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Keep being awesome. Keep enjoying your drafts. And hopefully you guys are still getting better off this show. Thank you once again to Calebovitsch for being on the show. We really appreciate him taking the time to give us some insight on his draft expertise. Let's get to it. So until next time, guys, as always, happy gaming.
Bye.
Good luck in your draft queues, everyone.